Give it a go. Okay then. Right, we'll get into it. So the first question I always ask everybody: who are you?
Well, really, I'm nobody, and my opinion's not important. And what I mean by that is like, I guess I've been in the industry now for almost 10 years, and in that time, you meet a lot of people. You meet a lot of people who have this big, I guess, online personality, and you think you're going to learn all these amazing things from. And from my experience, most of these guys are probably about 20 or 30% as good as what they kind of make out like they are online. And then sometimes you kind of pick up these amazing gems off people that you least expect it from. So I guess I do a little bit of teaching, and part of one of my businesses is we run a trainer development program for new PTs coming into the industry. And, you'd be surprised how many times that a young guy who's, just finished his PT course, he's been a PT for all of about, 3 weeks, will say something during a development session that you go, I never thought of that before. And they come up with a really good idea. So really, I guess it doesn't really matter who you are. You can, everyone knows something, right? And based on, everyone's experience, everyone will have a little gem here or there. More about me, though, if you actually want to know. Like I said, I've been in the industry for about 10 years. In the last few years, really, I've been specializing more in, I guess, physique preparation for competitors. It's actually the reason I got into the fitness industry in the first place, because I had a passion for bodybuilding, but I never really worked with a lot of people in that area, simply because I guess it was my belief that you couldn't make much money from that side of things in the industry. So I guess the first, 6 or 7 years was really focused on just general population. So I guess I built my personal training business based around training general population people. When I was on the Gold Coast, I had quite a big business. I had 18 trainers working for me. And I had a gym up there as well. So, I kind of sold all that and moved down to Sydney. Really, it was probably about 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I kind of got a little bit obsessed with the 4-hour work week, if you've read it. Because what I found was, obviously having this, such a large business, I didn't have a lot of time for doing the things that I wanted to be doing. Like I said, my passion was bodybuilding. That's why I got into the fitness industry in the first place. Having such a business, didn't really allow me to have the time to train and do all the things I wanted to do. And then I read The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and I kind of part of the, I guess some of the process that you go through when you read that book is figuring out, I guess, not so much how much money you want to earn, but rather how much money you need to earn to kind of, I guess, live a lifestyle that you want to live. And when I kind of went through that, I was making a lot more money than what I really needed. So now I guess I probably work, I never got to 4 hours, but, I got to the point where I probably work, 8 to 10 hours a week now, as opposed to 60 to 70 hours a week before, so I probably only earn about, a quarter of what I earned before, but at the same time, I only work about the 1/7 of what I used to work. So I guess, wealth is not just how much money you earn, it's how much time you have to enjoy it as well. So. Yeah, and it's funny too. I guess, working with general population people, it's actually much harder to get a good result with a general population person than it is to get a result with a bodybuilder, because obviously you have a bodybuilder or a figure competitor or whatever, you know, they're drawn to that already most of the time because they already probably get results somewhat easily in the gym. You know, like there's very few people that kind of wake up one day or in terrible shape and say, "Oh, I want to be a bodybuilder and compete." Like most people who like decide they want to compete, it's because they've been training for a number of years. They kind of look deep enough already. A lot of the times, it's despite what they've been doing with their training and nutrition. So then it's much easier to get a result with them. So working with general population people for such a long time, you really learn how to get results with people who struggle to get results. And you can take some of that methodology and apply it to physique competitors, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, they get fantastic results. So, you know, I've kind of come full circle, and now I'm back doing what I love doing, and it's, yeah, that's good. That's an interesting one. I've been having a couple of these guys lately on Facebook, like having a rip at me, bodybuilding competitors. And I guess they have this perception that I think that I'm really special and they want to try to, you know, bring me down a peg or whatever. We're really like, I don't really think that what I've been doing is that phenomenal. I guess in line with what I was talking about before, for many years, like I was training, and I did do a few competitions here and there, but it was very difficult with, you know, the amount of work I was doing. And then in the recent couple of years, when I've had a lot more time to put into my training, like my results have been like phenomenal, really. Like I've put on quite a lot of muscle in the last couple of years. And I guess people have misconceptions about how or why I've done it, and like, you know, or what, like, you know, drugs is he taking and this and that and blah, blah, blah. It must be phenomenal or whatever. But the reality is that before I was working, you know, 60, 70 hours a week. Now I work like 6 to 8 hours a week. So I have a lot more time to, you know, get 8 hours of sleep at night plus nap for an hour every day. Like I have time to train twice a day. I have time to make sure that I can cook and prepare and eat, you know, 7 to 8 meals a day. Like, you know, you work 60, 70 hours a week. It's almost impossible to do that, you know. So, yeah, I guess the misconception, that's one misconception. Definitely. That's probably the main one at the moment. I guess how it's going to respond to element of training. And everyone's going to have a different personality as well. So, like I said, you really have to be able to draw that information out of the person, as in, you know, find out what they actually know works for them, so that you can adjust, I guess, your programming and you know, methodologies to what's going to be their body type. And I think you have to, I guess, like I said, adapt to their personality. Like some people want to just be told everything. Other people want to be involved in the process. And if you have someone who wants to be involved in the process and kind of say, no, do it this way, blah, 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 and don't let them have any input into it, mentally in their head, they're going to walk away thinking like, this is bullshit, this isn't going to work for me, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter how good your programming is, you're not going to get a result. At the end of the day, the person mentally has to, I guess, believe and accept that the things that you're going to do for them are going to work. Otherwise, they will probably in a roundabout way, almost not intentionally, but almost sabotage themselves because they don't have the belief in you know, what you're prescribing for them, right? So I think, yeah, the qualities that make a great coach would be adapting to each athlete's personality, I guess. Yeah, look, I think people who adapt to a certain, like, methodology or, like, I don't like to use the word cult, but, like, I think you know what I'm getting at. I think this has got to do with really, it shows how much the fitness industry is lacking. And I think lacking in education and lacking in, what's the word? I don't know, like regulation, if anything. You know, there is no real regulating body that governs anything to do with fitness. Like, okay, you have Fitness Australia, which is like a governing body in Australia, whatever, and they're, you know, making sure people get their CEC points. But at the end of the day, what they really do is like fairly minimal, right? Even like, you know, the process of teaching someone a personal training course. And I know this because I've worked with 2 different RTOs over the years, like teaching personal trainers to be personal trainers, teaching the Certificate 3 and 4 and Diploma in Fitness. When you register to become an RTO and, you know, and present a course and qualify students to become trainers, you don't actually, like, when you go through the process of registering a company to do that, you don't actually get audited on the information that you teach people. What you get audited on is you get audited on how you assess them. So say you have like you know, your Certificate 3 in Fitness, and there's X amount of you know, what do you call it, prerequisites that you have to tick off to achieve this qualification. And what they call is, so you know, there's modules, and in each module there's units of competency. And you could take a module and it says, like, you know, provide fitness instruction. What you get audited on is you get audited on your assessment process, that you say, okay, this is my assessment process, and I will do a practical you know, scenario where the student has to take someone on a gym tour and teach them how to use X machines and X free weight exercises. So then, you know, the governing body that says, okay, you can be an RTO and teach this course, they look at that and they go, right, tick. And once you go through all these units of competency and you get a tick for everyone, then, you know, you can go and teach people how to be a personal trainer. What they don't do is they don't look at the information that's getting taught to these people before they get to the process of, you know, the assessment. So as long as my assessment says I'm assessing if this person can provide fitness instruction, I'm good to go. I can teach people and qualify how to be a trainer. In my course material, I could be teaching people that, you know, they need to make their clients stand on the head and balance, you know, one Bosu ball on their foot and hold a tennis ball in their other hand. As long as my assessment process is you know, above board, that's fine, right? So I think a lot of it comes down to that. And so what happens is these days, when I did my qualification, you had to go through TAFE, and, you know, well, there was some RTOs that did these short courses, but really now this is the way the majority of people get their qualification, is you go and get a qualification in 6 weeks or 8 weeks, or even online. Like, I had a guy who worked for me when I was on the Gold Coast. He got his qualification online in 2.5 weeks. So, you know, he was already, like, the guy had been training for 10 years, right? And he was quite a good trainer, and he was pretty switched on. So, like, for him, it's not such a big deal. But if you take someone who's really never had a lot of gym experience and you give them a qualification in 2.5 weeks, what are they going to actually know? Nothing, right? So what happens is these guys go out into the industry, and, you know, you get these RTOs as part of their course. They drum into these kids' heads like, oh, you're going to be so successful, and, you know, this is all the money you're going to make, and blah, 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 blah. So they walk out with all this, like, supreme confidence. They go and work in a gym like Fitness First, or, you know, Anytime Fitness, or any of these places where, you know, you sign up and you pay a weekly rent or whatever. You know, and for the first month, they have this, like, supreme confidence, and they walk around and they're all motivated and all this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then when they actually get into the industry, they realize that it's going to take a little bit more than what they know to actually, one, get some clients to pay them, 2, get some results with them, and 3, get them to stay on and keep paying them. So what you have is you get people who know nothing really, and they go and then they're struggling, and they see this trainer in the gym and he's doing okay. And they talk to them and whatever, and you know, and he says, and that trainer gives them some advice. They say, you should go and do this course because this really helped me. So all of a sudden they go and do, you know, whatever course, and they knew nothing. And then they go and sit in this course and like, oh my God, this is like the best thing ever. Like, and you know, and it's the same thing all over again. They walk out with this supreme confidence, like now they're like the world's best trainer, and everything they've just been taught is gospel, and everything, you know, that they've learned there is like going to produce these awesome results, and it's going to build them this awesome business, and they're going to make all this money and blah, 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 blah. And obviously everything else is bullshit, right? So they've like, you know, got this new system. So they go off to the gym, and they do actually get some better results with people. You know, at least they have some sort of process and methodology to go through now, because before they had nothing. So they do a little bit better, but still like they probably end up, you know, frustrated in the long run, and they end up doing another course. And now, you know, they do another course because they go, you know, what I got taught in this first course was bullshit. Like they lied to me, and you know, they just did it to make money, and they wanted to sell me their supplements and whatever, and blah 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 blah. They're going to do this new course that says supplements are bullshit. The course that you did is bullshit before. This is the stuff that's really really good. So then they go and they flip everything around, and all of a sudden now they've got this new methodology. So it's basically like, because they really had very little understanding of anything basic in the first place. They didn't understand basic programming. They don't understand basic nutrition. They don't understand basic anatomy and physiology. They can't really distinguish what's bullshit and what's real. And when you go to a course, you will always find like little tidbits of information that are excellent, and little tidbits which are totally useless to you and your business. So they can't really pick through this stuff. And what they end up doing is they go and do one course, it works a little bit, then they go and do another course, and they change their whole process of what they do with their clients. And what this does is, like, I guess, it confuses the clients for one, right? Because last week you told me that I had to eat paleo, and that if I ate rice, because rice is a grain, like it's like, you know, I'm going to die, and I'm going to have some, like, you know, inflammatory gut disease and blah, 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 blah. And now this week we're doing a metabolic precision, and you're telling me to eat rice and sweet potato. But that's not paleo, and blah, 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 blah. So the client gets a little bit confused. And, you know, it's almost like the client should be thinking anyway, if they're smart enough, if what I was doing last week was awesome, then what I'm doing now is shit. Or if what I'm doing now is awesome, then obviously what I did last week was shit. So maybe this guy doesn't actually know what's happening and what's going on. So I think I think a lot of it's got to do with that. People who, like, you know, preach a gospel of one particular thing, CrossFit, you know, Polycon training, biosignature, you know, like whatever it happens to be. It's because they really had nothing to begin with, and now they've been given a system, and that's all they have. So they have to, like, you know, protect that. And obviously, like, you know, if you go and do a Lane Norton course, it's in Lane Norton's best interest to tell you that what you're doing with him is the best possible thing you can be doing, because he wants you to come back next year to do his course again. It's the same thing with, like, you go and do a you know, Charles Poliquin course or strength sensitivity course, or if you go and do like metabolic precision or precision nutrition or whatever it is. Actually, precision nutrition is pretty good. John Berardi is like a guy who doesn't bag out anyone else. Like, I do like him for that. But do you know what I'm getting at, right? So, like, I think that's the big issue, really. Like, people tend to bag out other methodology because they really don't understand the basics of anatomy and physiology. They never got taught basic nutrition. They never got taught basic movement patterns and training. So they don't really understand how the body responds to all these different variables. And like I said, I think that comes back to, I guess, the lack of education in the fitness industry to begin with. And like, you know, for many years I've struggled with that, because having a business where I had so many trainers before, one of the hardest things is you employ a trainer. It's almost impossible to find a trainer who's going to work for you, who really has any understanding of all this stuff. Because a trainer who does have understanding of basic anatomy and basic physiology, basic nutrition, basic program, all these sorts of things, they will be already getting really good results with their clients. They don't want to work for you. They want to work for themselves. So if you're going to have a business that employs trainers, I guess you have to just expect that they're going to come and they're going to really learn nothing, or they're going to know nothing. So you're going to have to really teach them a lot of stuff. Otherwise, at the end of the day, you're not going to have a very successful business. And I see this a lot of, like, you know, with fitness businesses in the industry that employ trainers, like, I guess they don't put enough education, enough time into their trainers. And at the end of the day, then the product that they're delivering to the clients is subpar. And my views on what a successful fitness business is kind of probably different to most people. A lot of people who get to the point where they start to employ trainers and start to have people working for them, they start to think about the dollar signs and like, let's make more sales and let's do this and blah, blah, blah. How can we maximize profits from here? What can we do over here to make an extra, X amount of dollars on the weekend when the gym's not busy and blah, 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 blah. When really they should probably be thinking about, one, how can I retain my trainers, right? Because at the end of the day, the trainer develops a relationship with the client. If you retain trainers, you're going to be much more likely to retain clients. And then what can I do to make sure that the product that my trainers, who are happy staying with me, are delivering to the clients? What can I do to make sure that that product is worthy of my brand and is going to make sure that not only do I keep trainers, but I keep the clients? Because at the end of the day, if you keep your trainers happy, you produce results with the clients, everyone's going to stay and everyone's going to keep paying money and everyone's going to bring their friends. Whereas really what you see in the fitness industry is you see like churn and burn, right? You see people who are very good at sales, and you can see this everywhere. You can see this in people who own gyms. You can see this in a fitness first situation or Anytime Fitness or any of these kind of like big chain gyms. The people generally who do well are the people who can talk and can do sales. They sign on clients. Eventually the clients leave, but that's okay because we can sign on some more clients, right? So I think it all comes back down to like really how much the fitness industry, it's not just in Australia either, but by talking to guys overseas in the UK and the States, it's the same thing really everywhere, that like trainers like come out with very little knowledge and are probably put into a position far too quickly that they shouldn't really be in. Like, if you come out and you don't understand the basics of how the body works, how are you expected to then go and, one, produce results with people, and two, actually run a business where it's going to be profitable? So I think it's a bit backwards. It's like, it would be like this. Like, it would be like, all right, you're going to be a carpenter. We're going to give you an 8-week course to be a carpenter and then go out and build a house. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't happen. So what happens in like, say the building industry, you go and, you do TAFE or whatever, and you get some qualification, and then you go through an apprenticeship, and those apprenticeships can be like, 1, 2, 2.5 years long, where you actually learn from someone who's good at what they do, and they kind of guide you and mentor you and go, see that door frame you put up over there? It's shit. Take it down and do it again. Do you know what I mean? So that it forces you to kind of become very good because you're under like a watchful eye of someone who is already good. And to be honest, like, that's my opinion of how the fitness industry should be run at the moment. And that's actually how, my business runs. So we take on trainers that, I guess, have just come out of these courses who, like I said, they really don't know a great deal. And I guess we we mentor them and we shadow them and we give them tasks based on their experience and based on their ability. And then once we've, I guess, upskilled them and they're at a level they can handle a new task, then they get a new task. So like, yeah, I think that's the way the fitness industry should be run, but good luck on trying to get that to be universal. Um, look up to and admire in the industry. That's a difficult one, right? I think my answer would have been very different if you had have asked me 5 or 6 years ago this question. As I get a little bit older and a little bit wiser, I look up to less and less people, and it's not for any reason other than I think when you're a young trainer and you've only been in the industry for a few years, you have a perception about people which is sometimes not real. So I remember, like, for many years, like, I would see certain trainers, like, I would read their stuff online, or I would see them posting up things on Facebook or whatever, and blah, 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 blah. And no disrespect to them, but I would have this perception of them that they were like this amazing trainer and they, like, produce these phenomenal results and, like, they must have such a successful business and blah, blah, blah. And then, you kind of, maybe sometimes eventually you get to meet some of these people and you realize that their, like I said, their online bravado or personality is kind of like far outweighing, I guess, their actual skill and their actual business success and all these sorts of things. And like I said, to date, from the people that I've met, and actually, like, gotten to know and got to know a little bit more about them and whatever, it's probably about, on average, people are probably about 30% as good as what you think they are when you see them online. And I'm not saying, like, I'm better than everyone. All I'm saying is that, like, generally speaking, like, the people that really, like, promote themselves, on Facebook or online and all these sorts of things, I understand why they do it, and it's obviously successful for them in terms of, like, providing business to them. But as far as their ability to get results go, they're probably about 30% as good as what you think they are. So the people that I look up to in the industry are people who produce results that stay a little bit quieter. They're not out, like, hyper promoting themselves and, like, trying to, like, put this perception out there about being better than what they actually are. I would have to mention my own coach, Milos Sarcev. So, like, he's not really a guy who really promotes himself at all. Yet, if you were to look at his track record of the people that he's worked with, and the results that he's produced with them, it's phenomenal. Another guy that I really look up to is John Meadows. So he's a coach from the States. Again, he's not like a guy. I remember, like, looking at his stuff, like, years ago and thinking to myself, like, wow, this guy, like, is, like, produces pretty amazing results, but no one really seems to know who he is. Like, it's only been the recent kind of maybe 12 months or 18 months that really people have started to take notice of him. Since he's been writing on T-Nation, like, people have really, I guess, picked him up and he promotes himself more now. But I think, and what I like about that is that, like, these guys like this, like John Meadows, for example, they kind of, like, they never really talk themselves up too much, but at the same time, they're probably some of the best guys in the industry. And they, like I said, he promotes himself more now, but a few years ago he didn't, and he was still probably like 3 or 4 times better than some of these other guys who heavily promote themselves. So I kind of admire that with people who go about things the right way. And what I mean by that is someone who first actually develops some skill and ability in terms of actually being able to produce results with people and then promotes themselves. Whereas in the industry at the moment, what you tend to have is people do things the other way around. People promote their skills and abilities when their skills and abilities aren't really that great, and they develop this online profile, and the reality of it doesn't kind of really match up to that. So I guess, yeah, there are a couple of guys I look up to for that reason. Another guy I look up to a lot is Derek Woodsky, because he just is the same sort of thing. Like I've had the ability to sit down with him and go through some programming stuff, and he's a very quiet guy. He's not that outspoken. Well, he's a bit outspoken now with some of his YouTubes, which are hilarious. But he's not a guy who's out there like telling everyone how amazing he is, right? But he's actually a very, very talented coach and a very, very smart guy. It's funny because, from a business sense, it's kind of stupid not to, heavily promote yourself. But at the same time, I respect that because, these guys are actually very, very good at what they do. And that's what I respect. More than someone who makes a lot of money because they're good at sales, really. And having said that as well, the common theme with all of these guys are that they're all very good at what they do individually. They don't just actually produce results for themselves as well. John Meadows is a freak of a man. Do you know what I mean? The guy couldn't put a gram of extra muscle on his body if he couldn't fit it anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Milos was a top pro in the 90s, 10 years, competed at Olympia, whatever. Derek's been to, I think, Olympic Games, at least games. He's very, very, well achieved already in their shows and fields, which I think means a lot. Yeah. So, to be honest, I don't really see it change. In 10 years, I don't really see the industry being any different to what it is now. And the reason is that we're in a situation that it's very difficult to change it, especially on the large scale, because, like I was saying before, a lot of the problems in the industry with, I guess, what trainers actually provide for people in terms of skill and knowledge and results and things is based on this kind of lack of education. So I guess probably the majority of trainers entering the fitness industry would be in their early 20s, right? You do get people who are a little bit older sometimes who have career changes. But most of them are in their early 20s. Try to convince someone in their early 20s that they should go to TAFE for 18 months to get the same qualification that they can get in 6 weeks. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to happen. But if they did, okay, you go to TAFE for 18 months, then you go and work as a gym floor instructor where you get paid $18 an hour for the next 6 months. Then you work as maybe an apprentice trainer where you earn $30 an hour for a year. So you've spent 3 years getting to the point where you can be a trainer, you can charge like $80 to $100 an hour or whatever. If you did it that way and had a good mentor and a good role model, someone who could actually teach you some things and point you in the right direction, go read this book, go do this course, blah, 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 blah. In 3 years, you would become an excellent trainer. But try convincing a 22-year-old that it's going to take them 3 years and, for 8 months of that, they're not going to earn anything. For 18 months, they're going to earn peanuts. Rather than, and the alternative is like, I'll do a 6-week course, and then at the end of it, charging like $100 an hour and making like $3 to $4 grand a week, blah, 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 blah. It's a no-brainer. So we have this situation where, like, you and me know the reality, right? Like, you get a 2-year-old, they go and do a 6-week course, they leave, they struggle to even make enough money to pay rent at their gym most of the time. 90% of these people in 3 years won't even be a trainer anymore. But it's, when I was 22, I wouldn't have done it that way. I would have been like, that's bullshit. Like, I can do it. You know what I mean? So, I don't think it's going to change much.
Okay. All right, time for the final question. Okay, good about who he was. You guys remember what he did. So, Andy Bell, what will be your legacy?
Well, if I have a legacy, it would actually, I think it would be something to do with what I just mentioned before. Like I said, my business at the moment, that's what we do. We take these trainers and we put them through an 18-month mentorship program, and they come out with a good level of skill and knowledge and ability to be able to run a business and a very successful business. I've had people go through the program who are now still working in kind of like big gym situations, but have 1 or 2 people working for them, probably making $4 grand a week, $5 grand a week or whatever, working 25 to 30 hours a week. I think if I have a legacy at all that I'm remembered by, it would be, I guess, surrounding this sort of stuff. Because what we've been doing for the last 12 months is revamping the systems a little bit. And towards the end of the year, we're actually going to be, I guess, launching on a bigger scale. Because, yes, at the end of the day, it's as far as like business goes, this is where my passion and where I guess a lot of my time is spent. Because I really think this is a big issue, and I really think that if you get enough people on board with this type of thinking, what I talked about before about the fitness industry not changing too much over the next 10 years, it could. But we get on board with the same sort of thinking. So me and my business partner is we've been trying to, I guess, come up with a way that we can get a lot of people on board with that. So yeah, towards the end of the year, we're going to be kind of launching that on a slightly bigger scale, and then hopefully we'll go from there and try to, I guess, introduce a new way of entering the fitness industry that is a little bit more sound, and will kind of, I guess, get some of these trainers to actually become successful trainers in their own right, mentors in their own right. So we want to kind of, I guess, instill that kind of like thinking into the trainers that work with us. All right, you've just come out of your course, but in a few years' time, you need to be in the same situation where you are, I guess, helping mentor and helping guide some new trainers coming into the industry. You know, be able to, one, get results, two, make a decent living from it, and provide a good service to people who are paying for it, rather than, I guess, what is out there currently on the large scale. That would be the one. And the second legacy would be the beard, because I competed in a bodybuilding show like 2 years ago, and I grew this ridiculous beard for it. And since then, everyone's got a beard. So I'm going to say that the beard is going to be my legacy.